Should you hire family to sell your home? You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
You know, today's going to be a great episode. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
If you're looking at us on YouTube, you would notice that for the very first time, Todd and I have matching headsets.
This is something that's really been bothering Aaron. For me, not such a big deal, but he doesn't like the fact that his headphones and mine haven't matched. And if you happen to watch on YouTube, the last few episodes, I haven't worn headphones because I keep taking mine home. I'm a musician, and oftentimes I use the headphones so I don't bother everybody else in the house. And I've been taking them home and forgetting to bring them back to the office, so I've been without headphones. So now I have a home set of headphones, and I have an office set of headphones, and I got one to match Aaron. So if you're watching, we just look so much more attractive now because we have matching headphones.
Wow. Okay, I don't know about that last part. The matching headphones is correct. And now, do not take these home, though. Okay.
I will not take them home. It is forbidden.
You're going to pack them up.
They don't leave the property.
Because I know it's bound to happen. You're going to get home, and you're going to put on your other headphones, and you're like, man, I like those ones I use at work better.
These ones are nicer.
And I'm going to come here, we're going to do a show, and you'll be like, oh, I took them home because I liked them better. And then you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So we've got an important topic today to talk about. And just a reminder, our whole show is to help empower you to make informed and intelligent decisions about your process. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Todd and I come across quite often is we always hear, well, I have a family member or a close friend that has their license, and we're considering going with them. Mm-hmm. And Todd and I's initial response to that is, well, we'd encourage you to give us a shot, at least get a second opinion, and see if they have a plan and a process and the strategy that we use, and then you can pick.
Yeah.
So we always like to get in there and make the alternative option the Bald Brothers team, if possible.
And this is not to disparage anybody who's newer in the industry and trying to get their feet wet, but when you and I hear that, oftentimes our interpretation, and it might be wrong because we don't necessarily know the experience that this person may have, but our interpretation is it's somebody who happens to have their license and is in a part-time manner every once in a while sells a home, or maybe they're new to the business, we want to give them a shot. And so that's kind of what oftentimes we think to be the case. That doesn't necessarily mean that is the case, but that oftentimes ends up, when we do a little bit more digging, that is exactly what the case is.
Well, and if you think about it, it's not that hard to get a real estate license. Okay. And so they require they being the state of California, requires that the entry-level position, the sales associate licensee, they have to take 3 classes and pass the state exam.
Yep.
The 3 classes are all open book. All the quizzes are open book. All the tests are open book. The only test that is not open book is the state exam. And you have to pass that with a 70% or better.
I think it's
is it 75?
I think it's it is 70. I think it's 75 for
if you're a broker.
Or I can't
it's
remember.
70% or better.
Yeah.
Out of 100 questions. And so for somebody going through that process, taking the 3 classes, which you can complete in 54 days, and then you have to do your background check, pass the state, get your license. Now you are a licensee. You are licensed to sell real estate in the state of California.
Yeah.
Here's the issue. Just because you have your license doesn't mean you've ever sold anything. And none of the courses actually teach you the process by which you go through to sell a home.
Bingo. That's actually what I wanted to bring up. Is the fact is, yes, you have those 3 courses. The state test, I will say, is more difficult.
Yes.
There's not open book, and often on the on the questions are oftentimes things that you didn't actually experience in the actual courses, so you have to study the material. But the fact is, almost all of that material is stuff that you can almost forget and still be successful if you know how to properly sell a home.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not telling people you should just forget information you learn when you're taking a test, because you do need to know that. But from a practical standpoint, you're right. It doesn't teach you how to most effectively market, negotiate, sell a home. There's a lot that goes into the sales process that's not really a part of the coursework that you do in getting your license. So when somebody has a family member who has their license, that's wonderful and that's great, but oftentimes they may not have the expertise in terms of how to properly market and sell a home.
And that's the case in which we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Okay, because we know a lot of people get their license, but we know a lot of people haven't sold property. In fact, more than 50% of the realtors active today sell one or less homes per year. One or less homes per year.
That's
a significant
remarkable
number.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got like 1.5 million, 1.6 million realtors in the nation, of which 50% have sold nothing.
Yeah. I want to know who sold half of a home.
Yes, exactly.
You said one or less. Obviously, these are statistics. These are averages.
Yeah. Most people, I mean, almost half of them sell zero.
Yeah.
Then a very slim sell one. And, it's just not a lot of sales.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at selling your home and you have that family member or that close personal friend, we have heard many, many times that you feel a duty, almost an obligation, to help them out. In essence, you hire family, you hire friends because you're doing them a favor. Well, if you're hiring a realtor to sell your home, you don't owe them a favor.
That's right.
This is a financial transaction that requires expertise. They, the realtor, are being hired for a job.
To perform a service and a duty.
And I don't know about you, but if you've ever hired family or friends to work for you because you're doing them a favor, it doesn't normally pan out too well.
Doesn't end well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody hiring us because they think that they're doing us a favor. I want them hiring us because they know that we're the best guys for the job to get the job done, and we're going to provide a service, and we're going to do that service well.
Right.
And that should be the way. I mean, when you go and you get your car worked on or you have a medical procedure done, if you have a medical procedure done, actually, I think there's a rule you're not supposed to work on family, right? In the medical profession.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. But if you're having a medical procedure done, don't do it for the benefit of who's working on you. You want to make sure you're getting the right person, the best person to do the job, do the operation, do the surgery.
Right.
Same thing with if somebody's flying a plane. I want the best pilot who's going to land that plane.
Right.
I don't want to give the pilot a chance. I want him to be...
Would you do me? Hey, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you fly me on your first solo flight. Yeah, let's go.
There we go.
It's one of those things where, and most times real estate's not a life or death. Okay. So we're making light of that. I mean, it's not life or death, but it is financial. It does have a dramatic effect one way or the other on who you hire. Yeah. And so we were just kind of going to go through a couple of things to think about when you are going to be selling your home and whether or not you should hire family or friends. Yeah. So number one, don't do it because you owe them a favor.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, they are the professional. They should earn your business. They should be able to present to you their plan, their process, their network, their marketing, and list out for you the things that they're going to do to earn the right to be your realtor, because they're going to earn a commission. They're not going to favor a commission. They're going to earn it. Yeah. So they need to be able to do that. A couple of things also to look at is expertise. How many homes have you sold in the last 12 months? Is a great question for your realtor. Yeah. How many homes have you sold in the last 12? Repeat that with me. How many homes have you sold in the last 12 months? Right? And if the answer is less than 4, then they're probably doing this part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Because most full-time agents, did you hear that whistle? Most full-time, I
Yeah.
just kind of whistled when I was talking.
Pretty
Most
incredible.
full-time agents.
We're the whistling Bald Brothers.
Most full-time agents tend to sell more than 4.
Mm-hmm. A full-time agent will starve if he is selling less than 4.
Yes, that is poverty level in Orange County. Okay,
Yes.
so they should be selling a handful, if not way more. Another question.
Yeah.
Do you specialize in the kind of home I'm selling?
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
Yeah. Because a licensed realtor can sell what in California?
Can sell anything. You can sell commercial properties as well as residential.
Residential.
And you can sell a mansion.
You can sell a mansion.
You can sell a condo.
Manufactured home?
You can say that's right. You can sell a manufactured home.
Sticking
You can
with the M. Manufactured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mansion.
I didn't realize we were
to
doing
manufactured.
Alliteration. Yeah.
Well, I was. Since we're having matching headphones today, I thought we'd go alliteration.
You can sell, how about B? Beach houses, bungalows. What else is a B?
You can, commercial buildings.
Yeah. Buildings.
So, buildings.
So this is the thing. If you have a realtor that is an expert at commercial real estate, multi-million-dollar commercial real estate properties, that sounds impressive. But if they're not used to the residential market, they might not be the right one for you. Yeah. And we've actually worked with realtors that were primarily commercial and then were doing residential, and we had some struggles working with them just because they weren't used to the residential market and the transactional flow, which is very different.
And if you have a commercial building to sell, you want to ask about the commercial experience.
That's right.
And Todd and I have done some commercial sales, but we don't do all kinds of commercial.
Yeah.
So there are certain things where we say, no, that is not what we do. Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking about the expertise of the realtor you're hiring, they should be able to definitively say, yes, that is something I do. Mm-hmm. Or if they say, no, I haven't, but I can find somebody to partner with, then that might be a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But if this is the first attempt at what you're asking them to do, that's just a little bit of a warning. Should have hesitation there.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I think another issue is when you're talking about working with family members, and that's kind of how we started was family and friends, but family is the ability to have neutrality when it comes to certain things. Yeah. Because anytime you're working with family, a lot of emotions can arise as a result of things. Certain loyalties that extend beyond the transaction can come to life. We've had examples, of course, when you're dealing with trust sales, and you've got multiple, maybe you've got a couple different successor trustees or different parties to the transaction that have different opinions. All that can be quite messy. Then when you bring another family member in to help sell the property, the question might be, where is your loyalty? Which family member are you holding loyalty to? So when you have somebody who's an experienced realtor, who's also an outside party, he or she can maintain that neutrality when it comes to selling the home.
In fact, in one scenario, because the kids could not agree, we were actually brought in by a court-appointed attorney.
Court order, yeah.
Or administrator. She wasn't an attorney, but she was an administrator acting in that capacity. And she hired us to come in to sell 2 properties for this family because the siblings had so much infighting that they could not decide amongst themselves which direction to go.
Oh, yeah. And if one of them had a realtor, you better believe they would all be accusing that person of having nefarious motivations.
Yeah. And we see this a lot where the kids have inherited a property and they, one of them really wants to hire somebody. Mm-hmm. And again, in that situation, if you have one dominant sibling, I would say, hey, siblings, you should probably interview a couple of agents together. Mm-hmm. And if your family member is the best, go with the family member.
Yeah.
We're not saying you can't. We're saying you need to consider your options. Mm-hmm. And so once you've had that chance to interview a few people and you all decide, then that agent is being hired, not done a favor for, in that right kind of arena. It's just that atmosphere coming into it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. We've been hired in situations like that where they didn't go with family.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that family member is very vocal.
Yeah.
Very vocal.
Yeah.
They express their opinion at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And as professionals, we have to live up to our own, standards and processes and things that we've put out there for our clients. But it's hard sometimes knowing that you've got Uncle Bob, chatting in their ear, saying, well, I would have done it this way.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell right away, then you hear about it a lot more. Right.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, if you choose to hire somebody outside of the family to sell your property, you should probably still listen to the agent that you've hired instead of the family member that just got turned away.
Yeah.
Because that person's now going to be upset.
Yeah.
And oftentimes
that's true.
Very negative.
Yeah.
And very critical of your decision.
Yeah.
Of course, because they just missed out. So it's another thought.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. If your brother decides to sell his house and doesn't hire you because you're a family member, would you be upset?
Martin, don't listen to this.
Yeah, we need to tell him not to listen to the podcast.
I would, right? I would, because I've made this my profession.
That's right.
Right? I do this full-time and part-time.
Yeah.
Like, this is my 50-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
And I answer questions for people all over the country when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
And you do too.
And you and I have done transactions for either family members or close personal friends. And you know what? We've represented them well because we have the experience. Now, I'll tell a very quick personal story. Before I started working with Aaron, when I was new, many years ago, when I was new in the industry, when you first start out as a realtor, you're just desperate for a transaction, something. And I did a listing presentation with close friends of mine that I'd known for many years. And I prepared for that thing. I went down there and I had all this stuff that I'd done for this. I was so proud of my presentation, and I had never sold anything. Actually, I take that back. I had sold a condo. I had sold one property, but that was it. But so I had prepared. I did the whole listing presentation. They didn't hire me. And you know what? They made the right choice. Because in retrospect, now I look back and I realize I really didn't quite know what I was doing. And they really made the best choice and decision for their family. Was I hurt? Yeah. But you know what? I got over it because I realized in retrospect, they hired somebody who had a lot more experience and would have represented them much better.
And you all know that feeling when your friend or your family member got their license and you wanted to avoid them for the first 2 years of their career because all they could talk about was real estate, and all they could talk about is, do you know anybody that needs to sell? Do you know anybody else?
Yeah.
And in fact, I was talking to this young man on this trip I went on, and he said, what's the hardest thing about real estate? And I says, well, the hardest thing about real estate as a new agent is to convert the conversations to clients. I said, because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to build rapport, and it's hard to build, just the camaraderie that you need in order to convince a total stranger or a family member to convert from, I'm just asking questions, to now I want to hire you. I said, most agents struggle with that transition, which is why 95% of agents fail after 4 years.
Yeah.
That's not very good. So another great question, how long have you been in real estate?
Yeah.
If you over 4 years, you're in the top 5%. I'm just saying. Okay.
All right.
You're just in, anyways, that whole conversation of being brand new, right? You got rejected and you knew that it would have been a bad choice.
Yeah.
And so sometimes your family members know instinctively that they're probably not the best choice. And that is what it is. It is okay.
Yeah.
But don't do this. Don't hire your family and then call another realtor for advice.
Oh, yeah. That other realtor is not allowed to give you advice. If you have a listing agreement with your family member, whatever, that person is the one who has been hired to give you advice, and it is an ethical violation for another realtor to start giving you advice if he or she knows that you have a signed contract. And you and I have done this many times. When we find out somebody already has a realtor, we just basically say, I'm sorry, I'd love to give you advice, but I can't. You need to speak to your realtor to get that advice.
Yeah.
So.
And we recently, you and I went on an appointment about 1.5 years ago. And then I got a call, I would say 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I called them back. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then they didn't answer. And so I just texted, back and forth a little bit. And then I thought, we were going to sell their house. We're about in that time frame. Let me look in the MLS. And their property was active.
Yeah.
And I immediately texted this person. And I just said, hey, I just saw that your property is in active status in the multiple listing service. You're working with another realtor. I said, I am not able to give you any advice. If things change in the future, I'll be here for you.
Yep.
And I wish you the best.
Yep.
And then the response I got was, oh, well, we hired family and we made a mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like texting back to me.
They said that. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, again, I wish you the best. If anything changes sometime in the future, be happy to help you. But until, you're still in this relationship. And I think it ended up going into escrow and closing.
Yeah.
Which is good for them.
Thankfully, yeah.
That's
good.
fantastic. I want their best. But that was a situation where, we kind of got that call after the fact. It's like, I can't help you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So don't be that person. But it is hard to say no to family.
Yeah.
When you're selling your property. It really is. There's just that family bond. But I think the things that you can say to somebody is, well, we wanted somebody that does this full time. We wanted somebody that is familiar with today's market because he's selling homes on a regular basis. It wasn't like 2 years ago when the last sold one. We want somebody that understands marketing, today's day and age, somebody that has a social media presence, an online presence, multiple listing presence, somebody that has a professional photographer, somebody that can bring in staging and give me advice, somebody that can provide a whole network of vendors that are necessary nowadays to sell a house. It's like, it's like a wedding. Like, you don't just have the bride show up on wedding day. You have the whole entourage, right?
Yeah.
You've got everybody.
Yeah.
And so an active realtor.
A team.
Yeah, an active realtor who's doing that's going to be surrounded by a team of experts.
Yeah. The first time with the first broker I was ever a part of, as a brand new agent, I came in and they were acclimating me to their office and they said, okay, do you have a team? I was like, a team? What are you talking about, a team? I've got my real estate license. And I quickly learned, you got to, if you're in this business, you start to develop your own team because you have to have systems that are effective in getting the job done. So,
yeah. And then one of the other things in this whole process is when you're working with a professional realtor who's full-time, I mean, ultimately that's what you should be looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. And then someone like Todd and I, we are mentoring a couple of agents. And so we have 2 people now that have asked us on our growing team, said, hey, when you go out on your next listing appointment, can I just shadow you so I can learn?
Yeah.
And that's the right thing that an agent should be doing if they're newer.
Yeah.
They need to shadow an experienced agent. They need to watch. They need to, and ask questions afterwards. And so, if you call us and say, hey, Bald Brothers, can you come talk to me about selling your home? Don't be surprised if we bring a third person along that's simply learning because we have the blessing and the honor to do this quite a bit. And we're excited that we get to serve people. And we have been chosen by homeowners over family quite a few times. Tell about the property we were just talking about.
We had one early. I think it was earlier this year. Yeah, we're up toward the end of this. Yeah, it was this year. We're in September now. So yeah, earlier this year we sold a property for a woman who moved out of state, and she happened to have 2 granddaughters, each of which have their real estate license, and they were new. Both of them were newer agents. And she hired us. In fact, I don't know if their granddaughters knew that she was selling the home, but she hired us over them because she wanted to have the experience to get the job done. We actually reached out to them and with her permission, we reached out to them and gave them the opportunity to host an open house. Now, there is an example where you can have other people host an open house if you, as the seller, give permission for outside agents to hold an open house. And we did give them that opportunity.
And that would have been a great opportunity for them to get clients, to learn the language, to learn from experience, and they both turned it down.
Yeah, and so some of you might be saying, well, okay, so you want to hire experienced agents, but how do experienced agents get experienced if no one will hire them because they're brand new? Well,
true.
Aaron is giving the example. If you've got a family member that you're not quite ready to work with, but you also want to help them out, say, hey, you know what? Do what the Bald Brothers recommend is do open houses, work with buyers, get your feet wet, shadow somebody who's experienced so you can start to get that experience and really know what you're doing. Because the bottom line is, going full circle back to the beginning of this episode, is anybody can get a real estate license, but you don't learn how to sell until you actually start selling.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is having the experience of knowing how to sell.
Yeah. And if you go on podcasts, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you go on podcasts, you can actually listen to my other podcast. I'm just going to do a little promo here.
Yeah, there we go.
It's called Real Impact Show. And I host that with a coach and a trainer, and he coaches people, and I've trained people over the years. And we are dialoguing about the agent side of the business.
Yeah.
And so you might be a homeowner thinking, what do agents talk about when they're talking to each other? Go listen to that podcast.
Listen to that podcast.
And if you go back to some of the earliest ones, I've interviewed top agents all over the world about their business and how they got started and everything like that. So it's a really intriguing episodes where you can go back and listen to things.
And let me plug into what Aaron is saying. I'm not on that podcast, but his co-host is Don Jacks, and Don Jacks is a coach that coaches realtors nationally. That is, I mean, he's also a realtor, but he also coaches other realtors to be successful. So if you have a family member that you're not quite ready to hire, give them that advice and have them subscribe to that podcast. It's very valuable in helping agents become successful in their field.
Yeah, and that's specifically geared to the agent community because my passion has always been to elevate the professionalism of this industry. Because I knew that getting into this industry was so easy. Yeah. You know, even as easy, when I say easy, it doesn't mean that the test is easy, like everybody should pass it. 50% of the people fail the first time taking the state exam. Yeah. But it's not like you have to go through 4 years of school, go pass the bar exam.
That's right.
Or, go do, what do the doctors do when they go work at a hospital?
Well, you've got...
you know what I'm talking about? Like after they...
Residency.
Yeah, residency, right? You don't have to go to residency. Yeah. I mean, that kind of stuff is really long, really hard, really expensive. It costs about $300 to get your license in about 6 months. Yeah. So it's relatively, compared to other things, easy. It's harder to become a mechanic on a car than it is to sell a home. Yeah. So when I'm talking about all this process, like my goal is to elevate and to train and to make sure that we're all experts. Yeah. Because it'd be great to have all full-time agents that are just doing an amazing job. But the industry is such that part-time agents can succeed. And they're actually even encouraged to stay in the business. And some of them do a really good job. And so I'm not discouraging you agents if you're part-time listening to our host, our show to home sellers. But I will say this. Todd and I want to make sure that we elevate the experience of our clients through communication, through compassion, through courage, through contribution, through the way we advertise and the way we market and the way we communicate to our clients and other parties. All of those things are at the root of what we're trying to do. So perhaps you are at a crossroads and you have to sell your house and you have family on one and you have Bald Brothers on the other.
And by the way, the only options are
family and Bald Brothers.
Yes, there are no other realtors in the world.
None whatsoever.
Just family and Bald Brothers. So what do? You call the Bald Brothers team at 833-305-BALD, or you go to baldbrothers.tv.
Yes. And because you mentioned that you're musical today.
Oh, no.
Well, we're going to sing our jingle. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
You want me to start it out?
Sure.
833-305 bald.
833-305 bald.
I didn't harmonize it this time, but that's
I know,
okay.
because I don't know how to harmonize. You do. But I can. Let's say it one more time.
Okay.
833-305 bald.
833-305 bald. Trying to figure out what notes you were in.
You know what?
You changed the key on me.
I did. But we do have the key to success in selling real estate. So give us a call. We're the Bald Brothers team at 833-305-BALD.
And if you have a listing appointment with us, at the end, ask us to sing the jingle, and we'll do it just for you.
The singing Bald Brothers, the whistling Bald Brothers. Should you bring your guitar?
I'll bring my. Hey, if it'll help us to sell your home, I'll bring my guitar. You know, we have an agent that we work with that does open houses, and he brings his upright bass to create the atmosphere for an open house. It's awesome.
One last story before we go. I was a relocation agent, so I worked with a lot of corporate executives. This was before we were the Bald Brothers team, and I remember getting the call, and I had to go out and interview for this listing. And as an agent on a reload team, you always have to compete against a non-team member, someone that's outside of the whole company. Okay, so at the time I was with Prudential, California Realty, and I was interviewing always against something else, Central 21 or whatever it was. And I got this call, and he had sold about 15 houses already, and had been just crazy schedule, willing to travel, willing to sell. Everything was about advancement in the company. So I finally got a hold of him. Hey, when do you want me to show up to your house? And he says, I land at 4 a.m. I'll be at the house at 5. I leave at 7.
Oh, my goodness.
If you can be there at 5:30, that's when we can talk.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So it's dark. I drive up to the house. There's a car in the driveway. I knock on the door. 5:30. Check my watch. It's 5:30. Feels awkward.
I'll say.
Nobody's answering.
Yeah.
So, and he had said, I'll leave the door unlocked.
Oh,
it's even weird, right?
So you walked in.
So I walked in at 5:30 in the morning in the dark in this house, and I'm like, hello,
Were you
realtor.
wearing a ski mask?
Oh, yeah. No. I'm like, hello, realtor, like this Aaron. And I hear this, oh yeah, sorry. And I see him get up off the couch. He'd fallen asleep.
Oh, wow.
Because he was exhausted,
Yeah.
right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm like, hey, I showed up. I wanted to just, if you want to do the presentation, if you need to go back to sleep, whatever you need, okay?
Yeah.
Whatever you need. And he said, if you show up at 5:30 at my house to do a listing presentation, you get the listing. I'm like, okay. He says, I need more sleep. Thanks for coming. Just send me the paperwork to sign.
Yeah.
I was there like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I signed it, and I have an amazing endorsement letter from him.
Yeah.
Going back saying he showed up at 5:30. I've sold 15 houses. This was the best experience. But, for us being full-time realtors, right, trying to make sure we elevate the industry, we're going to have to do things that are above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And that was...
Well, you know what's going to happen now? People listening to this, someone's going to try to one-up it, and they're going to want us to do a listing appointment at 4:30.
Yeah, 4:30 a.m. We do like to sleep too, so it's best not to do that. But I understand it. And he literally went back to sleep, woke up, went back to the airport, and he signed paperwork that day. We sold it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Yeah, but that was weird.
Wow.
Okay, why did I tell that story? Because agents that are doing this, that are trying to create a professionalism in the industry, are going to show up and they're going to perform. And you got to depend on them.
Yep.
So that's our encouragement to you as you look at your options when it comes to family or friends. It doesn't matter if they're the best in the business and they're your brother, Martin. Hire them. Okay, hire them. If it's your cousin and they're just amazing, hire them. But if they're not, look outside the family.
That's right.
Make the right choice for you.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. Hey, this has been a longer episode, but we hope it was valuable to you. This is a very important topic, and if you want to know more, if you want to know if the Bald Brothers might be a fit for you, listen at the end. We'll give it to you. I'll give it to you once more here. 833-305.
We're not going to sing it this time.
BALD.
We were totally off key.
2253.
833-305-2253.
If you listen to it on the radio, I think we sing the jingle on the radio for those of you radio listeners.
That's true.
So,
because we were in like a studio and we had a guy listening. He's like, nah, you guys got to do that over. You were off on the 3. Like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Live, not so bueno. But we're not going to cut it out because, you know what? We're not perfect.
Nope.
All right. God bless you. Thanks for listening along. And if you are in the home selling or home buying journey, we wish you God's best in that journey. And we hope you give us a call so we can be your agents of choice. God bless. Have an awesome day. Thanks for listening to the Home Seller's Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 02022-092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.